My specialty, when people ask me what my specialty is, as a private chef, I have to say everything because otherwise, why would you hire me? Because I can cook anything you want me to cook. Anyways, but originally growing up, it was Italian and Mediterranean, being growing up in an Arabic family, but also owning an Italian restaurant. I got that whole Mediterranean in my back pocket, right? So one of the things that I love making the most is my marinara sauce. So I'm gonna show you guys how to make it, and it's simple, but it does take time. Everything that's delicious is simple, but it takes time. So what we have here for the marinara, and now I'm gonna take that marinara sauce, I'm gonna turn it into a spicy rigatoni, something very similar to Carbone's spicy rigatoni, but better, because it's got me, Rami. Okay, all right, so for the marinara, we're gonna start by, these are ground tomatoes, okay? So I wanna keep things simple for you guys because you're not chefs. You're people at home that wanna learn how to do this. So just buy a can of ground tomatoes, okay? If you can get San Marzano tomatoes, that's great, but ground tomatoes, all right? And I have that in there on medium heat. And then what I'm gonna do is I have some carrots that I've peeled and I've poached. I've poached them to where they're fork tender, okay? And I'm gonna put them here into a blender. And the thing that takes the longest is these caramelized onions and garlic. So basically what I do is you take some sweet onions and some garlic, and you're gonna saute the onions on low heat for probably about an hour. You gotta be patient. You know, I do it when I'm watching TV. You gotta be patient, gotta kind of work it a little bit, make sure it gets caramelized and brown without burning. And then towards the end of the cook, then you add in the garlic. We do that at the end because we don't want the garlic to get overcooked, burnt, and bitter. Okay, so, but then I still leave it on there for a little bit longer because as it starts to cook, all that starch turns into sugar and it becomes sweet. All right, so we have caramelized onions and garlic, and we're gonna put that in here as well. All right. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a little bit of the marinara as well. Just to help it blend because it needs a little bit of liquid. So we'll add a little bit of the marinara. I'm sorry, a little bit of the ground tomatoes. And we're gonna puree that. There we go, there we go. Okay, and once it's all blended, it can be chunky. I like it to have a little texture. Then I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna pour it into the ground tomatoes. I'll do a little bit at a time, just because, you know, I still want it to stay red, but without, I don't want it to get, you know, the carrot to overtake the color and it becomes more orange than red, so I'll mix it in there. And then once it cooks and it boils, it'll all blend in together. Okay. Now we'll put that to the side. And then for the seasoning, we're gonna do some salt. And I'm not giving you measurements here because it's really just up to you how much you want to put, but let's just say for this size, I'm doing about a tablespoon of each, and then some garlic powder. And a good way for me is, like, I always like to layer the top with a thin layer, and then if it needs more, I'll go back and add it, but that's kind of like my visual way of measuring, is I'll take all the spices, the garlic powder, the basil, the parsley, and then the oregano. I'll put a thin layer and then I'll mix it together. Now the original recipe actually used to call for sugar, but again, try and keep things healthy here. So I started cooking it without sugar, just utilizing the sweetness that comes from the caramelized onions and garlic, and then the carrots, when you cook them, they become sweet. And so I don't feel the need to add any sweetness to it while we're cooking it. So you can add sugar if you want. Some people actually add red wine as well. I've done that before. I just don't think it really adds that much to the flavor. So we'll let that cook down for a little bit. But that's the Rami's marinara. That's the secret sauce Yeah, that's good. When people ask me what my favorite thing to make is, I always say spaghetti marinara because I just love a nice hearty marinara with some homemade meatballs, which we'll get to another time. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that sauce and we're gonna turn it into Carbone's spicy rigatoni. I'll show you how they do, at least I'll show you how I think they do it. All right, so now that we've made the sauce, we're gonna take that and we're gonna turn it into a spicy rigatoni. So we're gonna take the sauce that we made and we're gonna put it in here. All right. Now the spiciness comes from Calabrian chili peppers. Now, depending on your spice level, sometimes I tend to make it a little too spicy, but just, take off the stem and then just see how many you can handle. I'd say probably about 3 or 4. I think that's a good point. You could always add more later if you want. And then we're gonna do some heavy cream. We're gonna mix that in there as well. And now we're gonna blend that all together. All right, and so now if you look at it now, it's got that color that you want. It smells delicious. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make the spicy rigatoni. Now I've already made the rigatoni. I'm not gonna tell you how to make pasta because on the box, for whatever pasta you buy, it'll tell you how to make pasta. So just follow those instructions. No time wasted here. All right, now we're gonna put a little bit of butter. A little bit of butter, and then we'll add in some of the sauce that we just made. And then we'll add in the rigatoni. We want these to cook together for a few minutes. The beauty of rigatoni, what I love about tube-shelled pasta is that the flavor just gets in that pasta, like inside the tube. I don't know if that's the proper term for this part right here. All right, I'm just trying not to get messy. Oh, see, okay. I was wondering how dirty I got, because sometimes when I'm cooking for people, I don't realize how dirty I am, and I'm out there talking to them, and I'm like covered in whatever One time I was covered in something purple. I don't know how that happened. I wasn't even cooking anything purple. But yeah, that happens sometimes. So right now I just have apparently 4 red dots right there, probably from the marinara. Okay. All right, so what we're doing is we're gonna let it cook a little bit, and while it's cooking, we're also gonna add Parmesan on top. We're gonna put Parmesan twice. We're gonna put Parmesan as it's cooking, and then we're gonna put Parmesan when we plate it. And then we're gonna garnish it with basil. There's different ways to cut basil. I like the method of just folding it up or rolling it up. And just slicing it. And you get these nice little, that will go as a garnish. You toss it a little bit. All right, looks nice and creamy, just like we like it. And now, we'll put some more Parmesan on top. some basil. And there you go, Rami's spicy rigatoni.